Hey everyone, welcome to the Differentiators. It's been a while since we put some content out, but today I think will be a great episode. I'm sure because we have with us Anish Basu Roy, who is the CEO of TagzFoods, which is a thriving D2C snack brand in the health food space in India. So they've raised a lot of money from venture capitalists, Dexter Angels, Agility Ventures, and very recently also they've closed an investment for on Shark Tank as well. So thanks Anish for joining us. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely a pleasure, buddy. Absolutely a pleasure. But I was hoping, as part of the introduction, you will possibly speak about our products and not our investors.
Yeah, sure. We're actually trying to get to that.
Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, and possibly my biggest grudge today with the ecosystem is that we are just obsessed with investments and the amount of money raised and valuations. Nobody's really speaking about bottom line. Nobody's speaking about products. Nobody's speaking about revenues. Nobody's speaking about consumers. So, hopefully we can change that during the course of the next, 45 minutes or so.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just I added that because that's sort of what people associate with, right? Like you mentioned, that is not something products, bottom line, user behavior, or something which we want to delve into in terms of the actual discussion itself. That is not something people actually associate with as soon as they hear something about a company or a founder. So yeah, there's actually the ecosystem is obsessed with investors, with, like you mentioned, which is something that we want to change as well. So I'll just get to the first question. Is something which I just wanted to understand about the marketplace, right? So so I know that TagzFoods is like it's a D2C brand wherein you sell both offline and online. So about the marketplace itself, so you have obviously you do manufacturing, you procure ingredients. There is a supply chain involved. There are distributors in terms of the offline space, and then there are consumers. And also you sell the products directly on your website as well, and also through other websites. So what has been when you started this out, did you start as an online first brand or as an offline first brand? So how did that online offline sort of space, how has that evolved over the years ever since you started?
I don't know if we are online first. I don't know if we are offline first. We are consumer first.
Right.
Okay. We are product first. We are brand first. And we go wherever our consumers want us to go. Now, if they want us online, we go online. If they ask us to be offline, we go there. So I think, but I get where you're coming from, right? So today, or maybe for the last maybe 2 years, suddenly D2C has become a huge buzzword, right? And today people want to do D2C brands and build D2C businesses because that's what seems to be fashionable, right? That is where the tailwinds seem to be, right? But as I hinted right at the beginning, we are here to build a business. We are here to build a brand. Tailwinds come and go. We don't change strategy on the basis of tailwinds, right? Or what is fashionable, or what fetches us investor interest, or what gets us a better valuation. We are very, very clearly grounded and a very humble company looking at delivering best in class solutions for what our consumers are looking for. So we are consumer first. There will be times you will possibly see us heavily indexed towards our online channels because that is where we are likely to see better traction in the beginning of the business. However, as we scale, if the consumer wants us to be offline, well, we'll be offline. So,
yeah,
we never really started with an assumption that we want to be a D2C brand.
Okay. Your sales on your website are around 40% before the Shark Tank. So how has it improved after the Shark Tank?
It's more or less the same.
It's the same. Okay. So what is the difference between an e-commerce giant like Amazon and your D2C website? So how do you see?
So again, if I'm able to gather the larger context behind your question, why should anyone even have a D2C website when players like Amazon can fulfill our products at the consumer's doorstep much faster, right? Correct. What is the utility of having a D2C website, right? So let me put it this way, right? Unlike a lot of other D2C founders who obsess about the speed of delivery, okay, of their products to their consumers, let me be honest, we don't, right?
Okay.
I think in the longer term, we very clearly need to understand that our website is a direct channel of communication with the consumer more than anything else, right? Of course, you have a party at home. Please do go and order our orders, our products in Swiggy, Instamart, right, or Zepto, or any of those channels, right? You have a planned purchase that you're doing, so please do buy our products, for next day delivery on Amazon, right, or Big Basket, or any of these channels. So if all of this is being catered to, why should a direct website exist at all, right? My clear reasons on the same are as follows. Okay, number one, our website is possibly targeted at those consumers, okay, who are looking to have or consume our products before anybody else, right? So our own website is possibly the first place where you will always see our latest innovative products getting launched before anywhere else, right? So I know we are too small today, and I have no qualms in admitting we are very, very small and a very young brand. But eventually, the way consumers would queue up outside Apple stores, right, to get their latest launch, I believe to a large extent a website solves for a similar consumption occasion, right?
Okay.
Where you have a certain set of consumers who really, really like your products and they want to have it before anybody else. That's what our website is for. Okay, number one. Number two,
Ajit?
Hello.
consumer, the best pricing, right?
Okay.
Obviously, from a pricing standpoint, today our products are most competitively priced on our website, right? Because we don't have to give a third-party commission, right? We pass on the benefit directly to the consumer. So that's reason number two why a consumer should possibly buy from our website or from, and this is true, I think, in case of most other brands, right? Number three, I know a lot of brands speak about this, and including us, we haven't necessarily been able to do such a fantastic job. I think a website or your own shopfront eventually becomes, the meeting point for building communities, right? And that is what we want to do in the longer term as well, right? We're very clear that yes, we're in the business of possibly, selling fitter snacking experiences. But at a much larger level, our vision is very clear. We are here to help Indian urban consumers eat fitter and lead a more active lifestyle, right? Our brand vectors revolve around travel, music, sports, and outdoors. We love to engage more with consumers and help them pursue their passions on these four aspects. So you will possibly in future see us building communities around these things on our website. So very clear three reasons. Assortment, right? So before anywhere else, you will find our products on our website. Number two, the best pricing. Number three, community creation. I think that is what a website solves for.
Yeah. So in terms of the distribution, right? I know you mainly target urban consumers, but I believe that wherever there is demand, you are ready to cater. So in terms of distribution throughout the country, what is the in terms of the places where you're receiving orders from? So what is that what does that dynamic sort of look like? So what is the proportion of orders that you receive from urban versus a semi-urban or versus a rural sort of market? So how does that look like?
So allow me to clarify upfront, Aditya. We are possibly not targeting rural at all, right? So we are very, very clearly focused on solving for the top 30-40 million consumers, 30-40 million households in the country. Right. So our playbook revolves around selling in metros and tier 1, right? By and large, right? In some cases, we go to tier 2 as well. Because, thanks to the way the world has evolved in the last 2-3 years, there's a lot of, people who possibly gone back to, their hometowns in tier 2 cities as well. And hence there is demand in those places as well. In fact, I just got off a call, with the team, and we ended last month with close to about 88 distributors, right, across the country. And they're spread out, right? Of course, there is a certain amount of geographical bias towards larger cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, which are some of our initial markets where we started with, and then followed by Bombay, Ahmedabad, Pune, and then Delhi NCR in the north. But then today we have distributors in the northeast, in Aizawl, in Manipur. In fact, just last week, very pleasantly we learned that our distribution partner had decided to take our products at one of the largest music fests in Manipur, right? Without us even being aware of it. Thanks to channel partners like those, today our brand is going into places where I personally haven't been, right? Just the other day, I learned that our products were being sold in Rajnandgaon, and I'm like, I've never been to Rajnandgaon, right? But I'm glad, our brand traveled that distance, and there are consumers for it.
So yeah, Anish, speaking about your product, so which is your best seller right now? I know there are new products coming out.
This is going to sound a little parent-like, which doesn't like to differentiate between its children. But very honestly, so we don't really have a hero product. Allow me to be very honest on that. We don't have a hero product, and the reason for that is very simple. Unlike a lot of other FMCG companies, a lot of other food companies, which believe in launching products very fast, the moment they see somebody else doing a product in that space, we don't, right? So we will never have, let's say, 200 SKUs like a Britannia does, right? Every product that we launch is backed by intense amount of research, okay, delivers to a certain consumer insight, okay, and meets certain commercial viability criteria, and hence we know even before the product is launched to a large extent that this will just work, right? So today, one of the things that we don't have to struggle with is the Pareto's principle, that 80-20 rule, where in our case, it is not that 20% of the products are contributing to 80% of the sales. Sales is actually split beautifully across all the products, right? And one of the better problems I deal with is all our products are in short supply.
Right. Yeah. So talking about your actual product line, right? So you have chips, you have dips, and at the same time, you have choco cigars, and also recently read somewhere that you're also exploring hash cookies as well. So what, like, for each of these sort of different product segments, right? So what is that insight that you gained, and how did you decide that based on this insight, if we launch something like this, this is definitely going to work?
So insight again, what's simple? It is the consumer. Okay. Right. Now, if you notice, there is no other snack brand today in the country which has a multi-category playbook. Okay, most brands, you will realize, are basically single product, multiple flavor, or single category players, right? We are attempting something very brave, right? We are actually doing a multi-category playbook by launching products in chips, dips, chocolates, and cookies, right? Now, the reason for selecting these 4 categories is very simple. These are 4 of the largest snacking categories in India outside of traditional Indian namkeens. These are possibly 4 of the most loved snacking categories, right? Everybody loves chips, everybody loves chocolates, everybody loves dips, everybody loves cookies. And the problem statement is the same, that today all the products in the market across these 4 categories, okay, are either very massy, okay, or supremely unhealthy, right? Or have no innovation at all, right? So we are just doing the same thing across all the 4 categories if you look at it, right? Consumers love potato chips. We are giving them the fittest potato chips. Consumers love chocolates. We are giving them the fittest chocolates, right? Consumers love cookies. We are possibly going to be delivering them the fittest cookies without necessarily calling them health food, right?
Right.
Let's accept the fact that India is still not at a stage and will not be at a stage for the next 5 to 10 years where the decision will be made on the basis of the health quotient. I think India is still at a stage where the primary determinant of the consumer's preference is taste. So you have to deliver on taste first, right? So we just give them the tastiest products, make them much better than the current alternatives in the market, and that's why they tend to choose our products.
Sir, I understand the where the food tech aspect comes in, right? Like with the potato chips, I definitely understand that you definitely have a new innovation called something called as popping as a technique. So that is something that I'm able to understand. But with chocolates and cookies, can you actually explain what is the innovation, and how are you making these categories healthier?
So number one, dark chocolate has been around for the last 10 years now in the country, right? But dark chocolate has just not taken off. What is the reason, right? Dark chocolate is expensive, right? It is prohibitively expensive, right? Today, you see premium brands selling dark chocolate at 6 rupees per gram, right? Whereas milk chocolate is available at 1 rupee per gram, right? Obviously, the consumer is not going to pay a 6 times premium, right? Secondly, dark chocolate is perceived as exotic, as something which is almost boring to an extent. So we basically innovated on the form factor, right? So by launching dark chocolate cigars, what have we done, right? Number one, crafting the kind of molds that are needed for making these dark chocolate cigars requires extensive amount of research and development in 3D printing the molds that we have, right?
Okay.
So the innovation is not in the recipe. Okay, the innovation is possibly in getting that form factor out.
Okay.
Now suddenly, when you have a form factor as exciting as a cigar, right, the novelty factor is something which piques interest of the consumer, right? It is no longer that exotic, boring dark chocolate anymore, right? So suddenly we've offered, if you'll pardon my language, we've sexed up dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Right? So now suddenly you are not having dark chocolate because it is healthier. You are having dark chocolate because it's great chocolate. It's 55% dark chocolate. It's not 90% dark chocolate. So acceptability of dark chocolate suddenly goes up several notches, and then everybody thinks it's very cool, very fashionable, to be eating a dark chocolate cigar.
Right.
So that's where the innovation lies. And again, I'm going back to the consumer here, right? What did we learn about the consumer? That the consumer is bored to death having chocolates in a bar. वो बार शेप में कब तक हम चॉकलेट खाते रहेंगे, right? People need something more interesting, more exciting, right? Let's give them that. We're not stopping at that, by the way. We're doing chocolate joints and chocolate cigarettes as well sometimes.
So
there's a nostalgia message there, right? The whole tagline around the product is why smoke it when you can eat it.
Yeah.
Right? So for all the people who possibly pick up a cigar or a cigarette just because they want to be seen as cool, we're saying you don't need that anymore, right? You can maybe just be cool while eating chocolate.
Yeah.
That's a great consumer behavior change that you are doing. So coming back to your brand building, so how did you build your brand from scratch? So you had to compete with Cadbury's or Lay's. So how did you do that?
यार तुम लोग मुझे पागल बोलने वाला अभी थोड़ी देर में. I don't build my brand. My consumers build my brand, right? So trust me, every marketeer likes to believe that they build a brand. But I don't think marketeers ever build brands. Marketeers possibly capture a certain insight, understand the consumer's need to an extent, but it is the consumer who eventually build a brand, right? But if your question is, how did the name come up? How did we go about packaging, right? How did we decide to differentiate ourselves? Number one, we don't have a marketing agency, and we will possibly never have, a brand agency, because one of the fundamental reasons, possibly because of which me and my co-founder are in this line of business, is because we are creative souls ourselves, and we are basically doing this for the love of being creative, right? So right from the name of the brand to the designs to the packaging, everything is done in-house. There's nothing that we outsource there. And it's all backed by consumer insights, right? So because we wanted to build a brand with a Gen Z personality, right? We obviously had to give it a Gen Z name, right? So by the way, you can look this up. For millennials, the most recognizable internet lexicon is the thumb sign of Facebook likes, right? Whereas for Gen Z, the most recognizable internet lexicon is the hashtag, right?
Correct.
So the name was actually derived from the hashtag, right? It has a Z because the brand has a very Gen Z personality, right? If you see the choice of matte black, right, that was a bold choice because F&B color palette traditionally has been in this category, has been red, orange, yellow, blue, and green, right? And we said we'll do matte black, right? And we said we'll use color pop, right? Because we said, what the fuck, why should we be selling boring healthy snacks, right? We always thought of the brand as a rock band, as a music band, right? If TagZ were a person, how would he like to dress? How would he want to express himself, right? That's the way we've always seen this, and hence the irreverent fonts, hence the irreverent tonality in the language, right? We don't shy away from dark humor either, right? So these are some fairly bold, unconventional calls that we took, because Gen Z is all about that.
True.
Right?
So yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear based on in your answers that consumer comes first, and the insights that you gain from the consumer, it always comes first. So I just wanted to break down how you went about getting these insights, or how you go about getting these insights, right? You also mentioned that we don't have any agencies, but as an organization, how did you start reaching out to consumers, and how did you get those insights before you developed the products that you developed? What is the step-by-step process that you follow?
Number one, at 40, I'm an old man. I've spent nearly 20 years in sales, distribution, marketing with consumers, right? So that helps, right? That is something that certainly helps. But I think we did a lot of intensive research, so to say, only in the first 3 months.
Okay.
While the initial designs and the packaging structures and all of those things were evolving, lots of consumer conversations, lots of surveys, right? Today we hardly do any surveys. We don't do surveys, right? We don't believe in surveys, right? We believe in getting under the skin of what the consumer is telling us, and picking up what he's not even telling us, right? And it's a nuanced process. Allow me to put it upfront. It's more of an art than a science.
Okay.
Right? It's more of an art than a science. However, one of the things that we do, okay, and our consumers have been kind enough and been patient with this approach, okay, and that's why we have always said that we love co-creating with our consumers, and all our products are co-created thanks to our consumers, is we end up launching a product which is possibly only 20, 30, 40% ready. We just launch it, okay, right? We possibly launch it at a price which is 100% higher than what eventually the commercial product ends up getting launched at, right? We put out the product in the hands of the consumer, right? And that's how we learn and we iterate and we improve upon it, right? So if you're hearing a lot of consumer and consumer love and things like those from me, it is coming from the fact that yes, the investors that you mentioned in the beginning of the call do help grow the business, but I think it is the invaluable thousands of consumers who've been patient and have still come back and bought from us in spite of maybe their first experience with our product being shabby, not being the best in class, right? Maybe it was only 40% of what our products today are, right? And in fact, even today, when we launch products, we launch like that, right? If it's 40% ready, we will say we will just go ahead and launch, and let's see, if people accept this, if they buy this, right? And we continue to improve and iterate upon that, right? And we've reaped some rich dividends here, thanks to all this consumer love. The moment I got a chance to let consumers formally and officially become co-creators for the brand, we decided to launch a consumer stock option plan, and we had 5,200 consumers participating in investing in the company. This was in a way our way of giving back, right? We wanted to give them an opportunity to be a part of the wealth creation as well, right? And for all their patience, for all the love that they've given us.
So you spoke about consumer data that you generated by experiments that you did. So can you tell us about the consumer data that you generated through online sales, and how are you leveraging the data?
You might have to extrapolate on that question a little bit more.
Okay, let's say 40% of your sales is from your website, and you will have let's say a demographic data that you can get and the age data that you can get. So how are you using that to better your products?
We are not using that data to better our products.
Okay.
So now allow me to be very, very honest. Okay. What the data from your website can tell you is that is the product working, is it not working? But it can never tell you what you need to improve in it, right?
Okay.
That can happen only through consumer conversations,
Hmm.
right? So your website will tell you, what's your cohortized retention. Your website will tell you what's your average order value. Your website will tell you how much is the same consumer coming back and buying 6 months later from you. Your website will tell you, which product categories are moving faster than the others, right? Which products are driving cross-selling behavior onto other products. It will give you a lot of those data points, right? But it will never ever tell you what you need to get better with your products. That happens only through consumer conversations. Okay, so I really, really wanted to clarify that. And for that, you need to be speaking to consumers, right? You need to be bold enough at all points in time to just keep giving it out to consumers, see their reactions, right? There are times I don't even believe the consumer's verbal reaction to my product. Okay, my biggest cue is when I give the consumer a product. The first instance when he's opening the product, okay, expressions speak a lot, and when he actually puts the product inside on their mouth, that expression speaks a lot, right? Unfortunately, there is no process to put data and quantify that.
Sure.
That's a lot of insights into consumer and the customer base that you have. So how many customers do you speak to? Let's say if you want to start a new product, so how many will you speak to? As you said, you will release the product if it is half baked as well. So let's say, is it in hundreds or thousands of
I
customers
think
that
that
you
number is closer to hundreds at max. Definitely not thousands.
Okay.
I don't have the luxury of time or resources as a small business to invest in research which spans across thousands. Right? In fact, you don't even need a few hundreds. You can tell between a good product and a bad product in the first 20 responses.
Okay.
Right? In the first 20 responses you can get. And see, a product is not just a taste in case of food, right? It's a function of packaging, right? It is a function of how convenient your packaging is, right? It is a function of your pricing. It is a function of the reliability of the product over a period of time, right? Then of course there is taste and mouthfeel and texture and satiety and all those things, right? But it's actually a lot of parameters.
Sure. Yeah, that's really interesting, Anish. So in terms of if you look at the kind of categories that you're involved in, so did you want to create new categories, or did you want to be a company that wanted to that actually wanted to participate in existing categories and probably disrupt the existing categories that are out there?
यार मुझे दो चीजें नहीं करनी है. I don't want to create categories and I don't want to disrupt anything. ये disruption word बाबा it's very dangerous. I don't want to disrupt anything. Category creation, why I did not want to do? Simple reason. Category creation, in my view, should be done by companies which have a lot of capital or a lot of infrastructure, right? Because category creation is expensive, right? Because category creation always involves fundamentally changing user behavior. Okay. And I am not a very large company. So category creation is something that I don't want to do at all, right? We have always consciously chosen to be in mature and large categories. Okay.
Right.
Simply because in a mature and a large category, while obviously there is a lot of competition, right? But in a large and a mature category, you will always find those niches, okay? Those category niches, those product niches, which are unmet, right? And in a large market, even if you're able to get, let's say, a 1%, 2%, 3% market share, also it's a large business sometimes, right? So to build 1,000 crore business, I maybe need to be a 3% market share company in the categories that I am. That's all.
So
So yeah, I mean, one more thing around the sales. When I was actually reading up about the company, so what I saw was over the past few months, I think the sales have increased exponentially, right? Probably.
Nothing happens exponentially in our case. Step by step, gradually, right? It's a steady graph which is looking up. Nothing exponential.
Okay, sure. So can you just dive deep into the actual how the sales have grown year on year, and
In the
from
last
where?
in the last 14 months, we have grown about 9 times.
Right.
But to be very honest, I'm not so excited about that.
Okay.
Right? I'm excited about the fact that while we have grown 9 times, I've reduced my cash burn 5 times.
Oh,
right.
Right. So my cash burn is 1/5 of what it used to be 14 months ago. Right.
So you're not spending more money to acquire new customers.
And because we never want exponential growth, we want profitable growth.
Right.
Right. We're building a business. We're building a brand. We're not building a valuation. So exponential growth, nahi chahiye. Don't want exponential growth. We are happy to grow at the pace at which our consumers want us to. Right. And we don't want to grow at a pace at which some potential investors might want us to.
Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
Right. So that's why no exponential growth. Exponential growth hota agar main 90 times grow karta. I'm happy for 9 times, and that is decent, yeah, for a young business.
That's exponential for us. So
yeah.
Coming back to your Shark Tank experience.
Yes. And Aditya, on a very lighter note, I think in the last 10 years, the whole, the vocabulary has changed so much, right? And we, possibly today in this conversation, you're also realizing that we don't even realize the kind of words that we use. This disruption, exponential growth, right. Hockey stick curve. That's become part of our language. I find that disturbing. True. I'm going to be very honest. I find that disturbing. It's unnatural.
Yeah. You only learn from what's around you. So yeah, that is a problem.
What do you do? See, all of us wake up reading not the newspaper anymore. Some of the other publication, but media is bombarding you with all this terminology left, right, and center, and it's just become part of our colloquial language now.
Yeah, and due to Shark Tank, I think every household knows.
Understands this right now, especially the way pitches are made.
Coming back to your Shark Tank experience, how was it, and how did you prepare? I don't think you prepared anything because.
Yeah, you answered the question. No, we didn't prepare.
Because you are great in conversation, so it's fine.
And if we didn't prepare, I think, but for the benefit of a lot of other people who possibly going to be, seeing this video cast. Number one, see, why were we going on Shark Tank? We were not going there necessarily for the money. We were going there because we wanted that recognition, that visibility, as a brand. So I think what worked in our favor is that right from day one, we didn't think of the pitch as a pitch, but then we thought of the pitch as an advertisement, right? So that's why the all shots wala entry and that dramatic opening and that blitz and all that, because we were very clear this is targeted at the consumer, right? So we need to do this like an ad and not like a pitch, right? So that's one thing that we did, and I think that kind of worked in our favor. Number two is we had a very clear plan in terms of how we wanted to project our brand, right? And we didn't budge from that, right? In spite of possibly a lot of well-intentioned guidance from the Shark Tank India team as well, right? Because they know what kind of audience that they're catering to. But then we were very clear that we want our brand to be projected in a certain manner. We kind of stuck to that, right? So no sad stories, no sob stories, no unnecessary drama, right? Even when it came to the negotiations, the discussions, the numbers part of it, we were very clear we're going to conduct ourselves and the brand in the most professional manner, right? Because we were representing the brand there. So
Right.
it's important that you go with a game plan, stick to that game plan, right? And then let the products do the talking.
So, what's your advice to entrepreneurs who are starting their journey, and what skills and qualities should they learn before they start?
I am no one to give anybody advice here, to be very honest. So I will not give advice. I'll tell you something that inspired me very recently, right? And hopefully, this will inspire other people as well, because यार वो advice मुझे देना नहीं आता. So you saw this movie? Shit, I am getting old. Serena Williams and Venus Williams' dad, King Richard.
Yeah. Will Smith's.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So if you see King Richard, and I'm sure it is dramatized to an extent, right? But that guy actually had a written down document, okay, in the form of almost like a book, how he visualized two of his daughters to eventually become tennis players, and the plan that he had in mind for them. And he just stuck to that plan.
Right.
And as a black guy, in the 1980s, life in America wasn't that easy, right? They weren't necessarily from a very privileged class. Finding a coach for the two daughters was extremely difficult, right? But they stuck to their guns. Even when they found a damn good coach, right? Sometimes they were okay to let go of that damn good coach, because the damn good coach would tell them that you have to get Serena and Venus to play in the junior championships, because that is the only way you can become a pro, right? But Richard was very, very clear. He said, no, I will not allow my daughters to burn out like that. This is an age where they need to get an education alongside focusing on their sport, right? And they will not play the junior circuit. And they came in for a lot of criticism. That's one of the big reasons because of which, Venus Williams actually competed in a pro tournament without even having competed in a junior circuit. And she played a first match, imagine, after a gap of almost 4 years, right? A first competitive match she played at a major, and she eventually won that, right? No, sorry, she didn't win the first one. She went on to win the second one. The point being, the guy had a plan.
Right.
The guy stuck to the plan, right? The guy stuck to the plan even when supposedly some of the best people told him that his plan was wrong, right? He stuck to that plan when he didn't have resources. He stuck to that plan even when he had the best of resources, right? So headwinds or tailwinds, the approach, he doesn't change. So I'm in no way saying that be obstinate, okay, or don't be flexible, but having conviction in your plan, in what you're doing. I think that piece just inspired me tremendously, right? Sticking to your guns, I think, is one of the things that I would love to keep doing as an entrepreneur, right? And I'm sure there'll be times I'll be proven wrong. There'll be times I will win and I will be proven right. But at the end of it, we are all doing it to have fun. So at the end of it, you should have somebody else to blame. Right? It's very easy to, at some point in time, go back and say that, my previous round's investor told me that grow very fast, burn this amount of cash, and then you will raise the next round. And hence I did that. What do you do? So sticking to the plan, having conviction in your plan. I think that's something which I found extremely, extremely inspiring. And I don't know if I've been able to do justice to, my moment of inspiration, but then, please go back and watch that movie. I think it's just...
Sure. Yeah. Coming back to plan. So what's your plan for TagzFood?
वो तो मैं Shark Tank पे reveal कर चुका हूँ यार. So I'm from small town Bhopal यार. Okay, I've grown up in small town Bhopal. And growing up, in the 80s, 90s in India, every time people would talk about good quality products, they would always talk about international brands, right?
True.
In the 90s, when India mein brands launch hona shuru ho gaye, right? The names were, Fiamma the Wills, Peter England, right? So call it jingoistic if you want to, but then somewhere the burning deep desire is to build a truly international quality premium brand coming out of India that the world will look up to. Because every time today I travel across the world, I get a little disheartened because while we are known for a lot of other things, we are also known for the cheapest IT labor. We are known for the cheapest telecom services. We are known for the cheapest car. We just seem to be known for the cheapest everything. So I want to change that.
Yeah, this conversation was great, and all the best with that. I think you're on the by the looks of it. After having this conversation, I definitely can say that you're on the right track to do it. So hopefully it definitely happens soon, and we can actually visualize you achieving something like that, the big dream that you have. So thank you so much for taking your time out, and thanks for being a sport. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thanks for putting out a story. As a young brand, all of this matters a lot. I think it was a good, interesting conversation that we had, and I'm glad we didn't speak about valuations and fundraisers.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We have lots more to come on this channel since we have lined up a few more guests after this. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell icon to receive updates. In the description below, I have provided the LinkedIn page link. Follow us on LinkedIn to receive new notifications. So until next time, it's goodbye.